Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. What up, yo? It's Theo Solo. How you guys doing? It's the Drafted Up podcast. You're watching, you're listening, you know where to find the show. Apple, Spotify, YouTube. You already know that. If you're not already, like, rate, subscribe, review, whatever platform you're using. Do all that sort of stuff. It helps the show grow, and that is appreciated as we continue to grow the Drafted Up community. So, how you guys doing today? It's nighttime. I just got off a nice long shift at work. I got some peppermint tea going, and as promised on Tuesday, this episode, I told you guys I was going to give you guys a little mid-season mock draft. So I'm pretty jazzed for it. Yeah, it's cold. What better way to spend a nice cold night or cold morning whenever you're listening to it, or cold afternoon, than listening to my not so soothing voice. Just me here on the Drafted Up podcast. Let's get the affiliate away, and then we'll just dive right into that. So we got W Energy, good clean energy, no artificial dyes, no sweeteners, none of that stuff. Genderless energy, it's good. It's delicious. They got a ton of flavors. They got a hydration line as well if you don't want to do the whole caffeine thing. So check them out. They got an app. Just go to your app store, search WDUBBY, or go to their site, w.gg, and use the code DRAFTEDUP, and you'll get a nice 10% discount anytime you use it. Whether it's the first time you're ordering from W or the 72nd time you're ordering from W, that code is good. That's Drafted Up for a nice 10% discount. Be better. Eat that dub, as Nick would say. W Energy. And then, you guys know I'm a hat guy. Finley hats. They make some really cool hats. You can customize the little pins for those of you watching. You can see the pin, little wood clip there. You can customize those. You can intertwine the little stampede laces. You can change them out. You can, put them in however you want. They got cool designs. They do weekly drops every Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific. So check them out. They do weekly stuff. They got a ton of cool designs, ton of unique stuff. And if your hat is damaged or destroyed, they'll replace it or repair it absolutely free. Finley hats, they're built for good times and long times. Click the link in the description and you'll get 15% off your first purchase over at Finley Hats. So join the force over at Finley Hats. Yeah. You guys got two affiliates of the Drafted Up podcast. I'm excited. to do this mock draft with you guys. Just a nice little bonus episode for the week for y'all. So I hope you guys also appreciate that. We're going to pull up that mock draft simulator here in a second. Gotta log in here real quick. All right. Let's share that screen and let's have a good time. All right? I know you guys are excited. Thanks again for joining us, and throw out in the comments things you want to see in the future from the podcast, and whether this is the sort of stuff that you dig on the show, or if you want to see some other stuff, more fantasy stuff, more draft stuff like that. And then obviously as I go through this mock, comment, guys that you would have taken if you disagree with my pick for your team, or, scenario, say, I'm going to tell you right now, the Saints pick 2. I'm not going to go quarterback there for them. So if you think like, hey, the Saints are taking a quarterback and they're picking 2, like it is a quarterback all the way. So yeah, throw that in the comments and let's get this thing rolling here. Sorry to Atlanta, Jacksonville, Green Bay, and Indianapolis. You guys don't have a first round pick, so you will not be present here in this mock draft. I'm not diving into a 2-rounder. I'm not putting you guys through that torture of having to listen to me talk for 2 rounds of a mock draft here on this special episode of the Drafted Up podcast. All right, let's do this. Should probably select all the teams. This isn't going to work. We do things on the fly. We're not going to do trades here. It's just too much to start things off with as this is just the first mock of the season here for us here on the Drafted Up podcast. So the Tennessee Titans, they're right now the number one overall pick. They hold the first pick of the draft. It'll be the second year in a row. They drafted Cam Ward last year. We obviously know they're not going to take a quarterback this year. Real life, if this is how it would go, I think this would be a trade situation, whether it be with the Jets, with the Browns, with the Raiders, one of those teams there linger in to try to jump New Orleans to get a quarterback. But no trades here, so I am going to go with who I believe is the best player in the draft right now, and that's Ohio State linebacker, maybe edge rusher, Arvell Reese. I brought it up Tuesday on the episode that Reese is just this exciting player, and he's really just coming in. You see he's 6'4", 243 pounds. He's a big boy. And I think his frame, he can hold more. I think it would, if it goes into the combine, it wouldn't surprise me if he's rolling in there at 250 pounds. They use him a little bit more as an edge rusher. So, I think that's just going to be what increases his stock there is his ability to rush the passer and just his ability to shed tackles, burst through the line. You get the quarterback offset, decent in run coverage, improving in pass coverage. Like, he's a really fun watch and a dangerous player, and he's really rising up the boards. It is now becoming like the draft Twitter is really like latching on to Arvell Reese. A lot of people like he's the best guy in the draft, and I agree absolutely right now. With the guys I've watched, I think Reese is going to be legitimate here and going number one overall to Tennessee. Sure, up that defense, I get finding weapons for Cam Ward would be ideal, but is Jordan Tyson worth the first pick of the draft? No. So the receiving class is deep too right now. So I think round 2 you're looking at one of those receivers, and then round 1 you start building that defense and getting guys to make plays over there with Arvell Reese to pair with Jeffrey Simmons, T'Vondre Sweat, those kind of cats. So Arvell Reese, linebacker, edge rusher, Ohio State. He is what people tried to hype Jalen Walker out to be last year, and Jalen Walker, like I said on Tuesday, good prospect. And I don't think he's an Arvell Reese talent. Like I'm at the boat right now where like Arvell Reese is like Abdul Carter, like Travis Hunter, like he was the clear-cut best guy in the class, and he maybe does take a dip. Quarterbacks obviously get a priority, but right now in this scenario with the Titans picking 1, they're going to go Arvell Reese. That puts New Orleans up at 2, and I've already told you I don't think they're going to go quarterback. I think they're going to roll with Tyler Shuck next year, and if he's bad, it sets up New Orleans to get a high draft pick in the 2027 class that on paper right now looks to be an historic quarterback class. Like, we could be looking at Arch Manning. We can be looking at Lenore Sellers. Lenore Sellers, I'm not going to be drafting him here. I'm not going to be drafting Arch Manning. I'm not drafting Dante Moore. I think these dudes are going back to school. Like, to me right now, like, it's going to be Mendoza and it's going to be Ty Simpson. So I think New Orleans is going to wait, potentially land one of these guys in 2027. So that sets up here Ruben Bain Jr., the edge rusher for Miami. I would say he is falling into a top 5 prospect in this class. I would say he is my number 3 prospect behind Arvell Reese and Peter Woods, the interior defensive lineman from Clemson. I still think he's good. And then Caleb Downs. So, like, I think they're like the top 4 guys. So we're going to go with Ruben Bain, get the edge rusher, Cameron Jordan. He's on the twilight of his career. He's nearly done. Like, this is probably his last year. Maybe he plays one more year, but he is on the back end of that career. Chase Young's been okay for them. So let's get some more, pass rush help. Ruben Bain, there's questions. Like, he isn't finishing. Like, he's not getting the sacks and whatnot, but he's getting those pressures there at the quarterback, and he is disrupting offenses. So we're going to go with him here at 2 for New Orleans and hope for a quarterback here in 2027, because that is the route I do think the New Orleans Saints go. All right, picking up 3 here. It's Nick's squad, the New York Football Giants. We know they're not going quarterback. Jackson Dart's playing some good football. Again, I think this is another trade scenario to try to, get whoever wouldn't go 1 and this hypothetical, like I said, I'm not doing any trades. So the Giants, yeah, they need offensive line help. I'm not comfortable taking any of the linemen here this early. So the Giants kind of fall into this scenario like you go best player available. So we're looking at Caleb Downs, looking at Peter Woods, but I'm going to find Jackson Dart some help. Malik Neighbors, he tore up his knee, so we don't know how healthy he's going to be going into the 2026 season. And outside of him, you were looking at Wando Robinson, Darius Slate, and Theo Johnson, who've been serviceable for the Giants this year. So I'm looking at getting help. Jordan Tyson is my wide receiver one, and that's where I'm going to go. But the gap between him and guys like Mekhi Lemon and Carnell Tate is minimal. It is they are neck and neck. Like if you wanted to make a case for Carnell Tate here, Ohio State receiver, so he's going to be good. I'm there. I think he is one of the better players in this draft. Mekhi Lemon, he's got a little Zay Flowers to him, and I think that's his floor. So there are other options, but we're going to go with Jordan Tyson. I know he's been banged up, and that is a concern for sure, and that is understandable if he would fall is because of that. But the talent is absolutely there. I think he is a superstar wide receiver, so we're going to pair him here with Malik Neighbors, continue to get Jackson Dart some weapons, hopefully, and then, find some lineman help either in free agency or in round 2, where I think the linemen are more suitable for this draft. I don't think there's any superstar offensive linemen here. That puts the Browns up at number 4, and here's where we're getting into the quarterback talk. Like I said, I think it's going to be Mendoza, and it's going to be Ty Simpson. I don't think Lenore Sellers is going to be there. I don't think Sam Levitt's going to be there. I don't think John Mateer. I don't think Dante Moore. Garrett Nussmeier is essentially the QB3 here, and I don't know if he ends up in the first round. It has been a struggle this year for him. So I'm looking at Mendoza, and I'm looking at Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson also, I hope he goes back. He doesn't have a ton of starts under his belt. But this year, they're so good. His tape is flawless. I was doing a little steak and tape last night. I was, made a nice steak, nice medium rare New York strip, and I was watching some Ty Simpson tape, and he's good. He's my QB1 right now. I like him more than Mendoza slightly, but I think the NFL is going to be more on board with Mendoza than they are Ty Simpson. I think Ty Simpson he's going to go here in one of the next couple picks, but I think Mendoza will be the first quarterback off the board, and I think he is a good fit for Kevin Stefanski. So I think he's more ready to step in right now than Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson would benefit from sitting a year or two. But I am going to go Fernando Mendoza here. He had the comeback against Penn State this past weekend. The amazing catch by Omar Cooper Jr. in the end zone on a ball that Mendoza overthrew a little bit, but he was pressured. Penn State was really bringing the heat to him, and he had that game-winning drive was really great. And everyone's calling for the Heisman. We'll see, because other than that, it was a little touch and go from him, but. The improvements there, I'd like him to go through his reads a little bit more. He does have a tendency of locking on his first read, and if they're not there, eyes aren't going anywhere else. And he's either looking to run or he's forcing a throw. But he's got the tools to what you're looking for. He's 6'5", 225. He's been really good this year. He's been really special. He has taken the step up from. When we talked about him summer in Cal, Nick was a little question. Nick didn't like him as much as I did, but even I was just I was projecting the step up at Indiana from Cal, and it's been there this year. You see 26 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Indiana's number 2 in the nation. He's got them, moving the ball and playing phenomenal offenses. They're one of the best teams in college football right now. So we're gonna lock in Fernando Mendoza. Maybe he saves Kevin Stefanski's job, because he's going to be on the hot seat. We like Stefanski on the Drafted Up podcast, but you can only be this bad for so long before having to make a coaching change. And that puts the Jets up, and they got all the picks. Here do the New York Jets. Justin Fields is going to be back on this team. I know Nick's not going to want to hear that, but there's not a ton of options outside of him in the free agency market where Justin Fields is the best quarterback for this roster out of the options there. But I do think they are going to go quarterback. I know Vegas is probably licking at chops, try to get Ty Simpson there, maybe sit a year behind Geno Smith. But I'm going to put Ty Simpson here, Alabama quarterback, to the Jets at pick 5, and Simpson's been great. Like, touchdown interception ratio 21-1. His pocket presence is really good. He's a little more mobile than you would expect, but he's not overly mobile. His mobility is average, but at NFL level mobility to the point where he suffices, and he's been this leader for Alabama. He's propelled them into back into the college ranks, and everyone's like, he started off with the loss to Florida State, and he's just got better and better each week. And, he's really propelled himself into this range where he's going to be a top 10 pick come draft day if he does forego his senior season and enter the draft. And I think he will. I think the hype's going to be there, and just the loaded class. We'll see where he would stack up against those guys. We don't know. But in this class, he's my QB1. Of the guys that I think are coming out. So we'll lock him in. Ty Simpson to the New York Jets at pick number 5. So now that the Vegas Raiders are up, no quarterbacks available. I don't think, like I said, I don't think Dante Moore is going to be there. I don't think Lenore Sellers is coming out. I don't think Sam Levitt, John Mateer, these guys. So you're looking at, Garrett Nussmeier, Carson Beck, Drew Aller. They're going to be the names on the board, Cade Klubnik, and things have not gone to plan for those guys this season. So Vegas looks elsewhere. They need defensive line help. They need offensive line help. Like I said, I'm not high on the linemen offensively in this draft. Peter Woods is still on the board here. Christian Wilkins, they signed him. It has not worked out, whatever that whole nonsense was. But Peter Woods from Clemson, it's been a bad year for Clemson this year. But if you watch Woods' tape, he's still that cat from 2024, 2023. Like he's still that dude, and he's 6'3", 310, still young, still growing as a football player. And like I said, it's been a bad year for Clemson, but I think this guy is gonna blow up pro day, combine, all that sort of stuff if he goes out there and works out. So, and I'm still in on him. I have him in my top 5 right now. So I'm going to lock him in here to Vegas at pick number 6, putting the Dolphins up at 7. You see the team needs wide receiver. I could go Mekhi Lemon just because that would be fun. But like the Dolphins have so many other needs, like offensive lineman would be nice, but you're not going to go guard here at 7. I love Sonny Styles, linebacker, the other linebacker from Ohio State. And I love the CJ Allen, not as much as I do Styles, but can you go linebacker here? No. So this is like a weird sort of scenario where like the Dolphins are sitting where their team needs are just not, guys worth going here. So I'm going to go best player available again, and that's Caleb Downs, safety from Ohio State. I know that seems to be a chalk pick, and it should be. Like Caleb Downs is that dude, and he hasn't, stepped down if you look at his PFF numbers this year, but, other players have been stepping up. I've talked about Arvell Reese. I've talked about Sonny Styles. Caleb Downs is still, again, top 5 on my board, and he will be a difference maker for this Dolphins defense that needs help, that needs upgrades. So we're going to go Caleb Downs here, the safety from Ohio State, to the Dolphins at 7. Now Washington. The Commanders. It's been a rough year for them. Injuries have plagued them, and Jaden Daniels been banged up this year. But this is still a good football team, and Nick and I both live by the mindset that bad football teams shouldn't draft running backs. Washington is not a bad football team. They just, it's just been a rough year. So, like, I think Jeremiah Love is in play here for them at 8. TJ Parker, he's top guy on the board if you're looking at the edge rushers, but he hasn't been as good as, I would have liked. I think Keldrick Folk, I would take him over him, and I think David Bailey's just an absolute dog. Like, he's the Mike Green of this draft class, a little bit undersized, but he is an absolute menace as an edge rusher. So, like, do they go with him or Keldrick Folk? I think that is more likely you to draft the more valuable position than a running back here. But the Washington backfield, Bill hasn't worked out. Chris Rodriguez is a guy who can fill in, but he's not somebody you're gonna hitch your wagon to. So I'm gonna be a little different here. Usually, like, I get Jeremiah Love and he's going down here to Minnesota, Houston, Arizona, Dallas, in that range. But I'm going to mix it up here. I'm going to go Jeremiah Love, who's the best running back in the nation. He should be in the Heisman talks. 13 touchdowns, almost 1,000 yards this year. He's getting involved in the passing game. 24 catches already this season. He's the best running back in the nation. An absolute machine. And he is the driving force for the Notre Dame offense as they make a push towards the playoffs here. So we're going to put Jeremiah Love to Washington at 8. And that puts the Bengals on the clock. Caleb Downs would be the dream scenario here for Cincinnati, but he had just went pick 7. So I'm looking at the edge rushers. I know they took Shamar Stewart last year, but that's not going to stop me. Trey Hendrickson is going to get traded. It's going to happen, or they're like, he's not going to be a Bengal next year. So I'm just going to lock in Keldrick Falk here from Auburn. Big body, 6'6", 285. He is, a Bengal prototype on the defensive line. So we'll lock in Keldrick Falk there. Gets the Bengals some defensive help that they so desperately need here in the top 10, and that'll give them a future pairing with Shamar Stewart going forward. The Rams are up at pick 10. They have the Falcons first. We're not looking quarterback here. I think this is where we see our first tackle go. I love Francis Moioa, CC Moioa from Miami, but I think the NFL is just going to love Spencer Fanu. And the Rams right tackle, Rob Havenstein, he's getting up there in age, so this is your draft the replacement. 6'6", 308 for Utah. He's just a big body dude who has experience at left and right tackle, as you can see here. Real disciplined blocker, and you just follow the traits, go with the big body guy here, and I think the Rams will look that way. They love those big dudes in the trenches, so we're going to go first tackle off the board here with Spencer Fanu from Utah. Arizona's up at 11, and this team needs help on offense. Like, it can't just be Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride for Kyler, if it is Kyler next year, or whoever the quarterback may be. And you got a guy in Mekhi Lemon who is the perfect pairing for Marv. You got the big body dude, and then you got the underneath guy who can do sort of the short stuff. In Mekhi Lemon, like I said, he kind of gives me, say, Flowers vibe as a floor, 5'11", 195, so he's not big, but he's so good, and I think he is closer to Jordan Tyson than a lot of people think right now, and I think as we get closer to the draft, we're going to see that gap close, and that includes Cardinal Tate as well. He's almost got 1,000 yards already this year on 81 targets, averaging 15.4 catch. Touchdown numbers are going up. Like, he has gotten better here, and he is so good for the USC offense, and I think he will pair nicely with Marvin Harrison, with Trey McBride, as Arizona builds their offense for whoever the quarterback may be in 2026. So we're going to go with Mekhi Lemon there at pick 11 to the Cardinals. Cowboys are up at 12. Jeremiah Love is the chalk pick here, but we got him off the board. 8 to Washington. So I am going to go back to the offensive line, and CC Moio is there, and he's got some guard flexibility. He hasn't played guard, but he's played right tackle his whole career. And Dallas, could use an upgrade there at the right tackle spot. They got Tyler Guyton over at the left tackle, 6'6", 315. The size is fine. And if it doesn't work out, maybe you have a guard and you play Tyler Smith out at right. That gives them some flexibility there, or bearing injuries, he could slide inside. But I think this gives them a right tackle to pair with, Tyler Booker, Tyler Smith, and Tyler Guyton. So we're going to go with CC Moioa, the tackle from Miami to the Cowboys there, continue the shore of that offensive line. That's been where Dallas is successful, is building that line, and then everything falls into place afterwards. Baltimore up at 13. They are definitely not going to be picking this high. Come the draft, they're getting healthy, and they're getting hot. So, but this scenario, this is where they are right now. And receiver, Carnell Tate is here, and Carnell Tate is so good. But we know Baltimore doesn't really favor going receiver early. It's they do, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, first round guys, but they haven't necessarily panned out per se. Zay Flowers has been really good. Rashad Bateman's been fine. But this isn't a team that I don't think is going to push the receiving issue. I think they like what they have. So now we're looking, Jermon McCoy hasn't played down in college football. He's got a knee injury, so he's not going to play this year. So you're probably not looking at him. Caleb Banks, same situation. He's been hurt this year. I like the talent in the interior of the defensive line, so maybe this is where they look, but I don't think he goes this early based off his injury. It's a foot thing going on there. So I'm going to get frisky, and I'm going to go guard, and I'm going to take Olivega Oani, the guard from Penn State. This dude is a mauler. He's got experience all over the offensive line, as you can see there from his little snap chart. And he's been really good. He's been one of the few bright spots for a Penn State team that is struggling this year. Good size, 6'4", 328. And this gives the Ravens the opportunity to continue to shore up that offensive line that's, getting older. And, Olivega, slides right in. The Ravens, they're not one, I don't think, who they're going to just disregard position, importance. And, they got to continue to protect Lamar Jackson. And Oiani, I think it slide right in as a day one starter for them. So that's where we're going to go 13 for the Baltimore Ravens. And that puts my Minnesota Vikings up at 14. They can go a handful of ways here. Running backs listed, but I think they only take a running back. Jeremiah Love is on the board. Here's where I think Jermon McCoy is going to go, and I know this every year the Vikings draft a corner, but he's got good size. He fits into the Brian Flores system. He is, a real good corner. Like you see his 2024 stuff, and he's got the juice, and unfortunately had that injury that's going to prevent him from playing this year. But that 2024 tape is first round stuff, and Minnesota needs help at corner, as always. So we're going to go with Jermon McCoy to the Vikings at 14. And that puts Houston up, and they need offensive line help, and there is an offensive lineman that I'm willing to go with here, and that's Caden Proctor from Alabama. Maybe he's a wide receiver 3 on this team, but he had that screen pass. He's played in the backfield. He's taken a handoff this year, but he has gotten much better than 2024. All the worries I had coming into the offseason for him, he's done a decent job of kind of tucking them away. He still has, places to improve, but offensive linemen are where I'm willing to follow the traits for the draft. And he's 6'7", 366. Obviously, he could afford to drop a few pounds. Who doesn't? Same, though. But Houston, they have to protect C.J. Stroud. they have weapons in place. Nico Collins is there. They drafted Jaden Higgins. They drafted Jalen Knoll. They can shore up the running back here if Joe Mixon isn't able to play next year. Who knows what's going on with him? But they got to keep CJ Stroud upright and let's get him a big body dude to play at tackle. And then they drafted Ariante Ursary last year, so now you're potentially drafting your bookend dudes here back-to-back off seasons. So Caden Proctor, 15 to the Houston Texans. Carolina at 16. Here's where TJ Parker goes off the board. They're going to buy into the traits. I personally, I would go David Bailey here. If I was looking at the edge position, but I think Carolina is going to kind of just play into the traits of TJ Parker at 6'3", 260, just, big body guy, and just kind of banking on the fact that Clemson just struggled this year, and maybe he kills interviews, and he should do great at the combine. The traits are there, so we're going to continue to get defensive help for the Panthers. We're going to go with TJ Parker at 16, the edge rusher from Clemson. And that puts the Kansas City Chiefs up. And David Bailey could be in play here, but I'm gonna go with the tight end. I'm gonna go with Kenyon Steek, who hasn't been great this year. And there's been some rumblings. I believe it was Todd McShay reported maybe there's some stuff, like work ethic stuff, that now that he's the guy, last year he wasn't. Terrence Ferguson was there, so he was the backup, and he was putting in the work ethic and all this stuff, and now that he's the guy, it's kind of disappeared. But Andy Reid can work with these quote unquote troubled players, these guys who need work ethic stuff, and this gives them a dude who can step in for Travis Kelce if this is the last year, or the next in line. So we're going to continue to help Patrick Mahomes, continue to get him weapons. We're going to go Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon. That puts the 49ers up at 18, and man, the offensive line board has not fallen nicely to them. These are just I don't think Lomu comes out from Utah. He's redshirt sophomore. I think he's going to go back. So I don't think he's going to be here. Dunker's not a first round guy to me, and I don't know about Tyrion and Searvold just yet, where I'm comfortable putting them. Gooseby from Texas also has upside at the position. So we're going to look elsewhere. The interior, I think Connor Lew ends up going back. He suffered an injury, so it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't declare and he ends up back at Auburn next season. So the Niners, we're going to go and get the edge help. I've spoke high on David Bailey here. Texas Tech edge rusher has just been a machine for them, and 12 sacks already this year, and they transfer from Samford. They got him in the transfer portal. They're paying him good money, and he has just been a unit for them. He is constantly finishing plays, getting to the quarterback, creating and disrupting the offensive line. So we're gonna lock in David Bailey here, get them edge rush help in San Francisco, where everybody just continues to get hurt. So let's hope David Bailey can kind of break that cause, get them a Pro Bowl caliber edge rusher. I think this is a steal here at 18. Browns back on the clock at 19. We drafted the quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, pick 4. Now we're going to get Fernando Mendoza some help. Carnell Tate still on the board, Ohio State wide receiver. He was next in line. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Marvin Harrison, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Emeka Egbuka. The list goes on and on and on, and we're going to have Jeremiah Smith in 2027. So 2026, though, we're going to have Carnell Tate, and he's not the fastest guy, but he's a smooth route runner. He knows how to get open. He does everything right. Good size, 6'3", 195. We're going to get the Browns a legitimate potential wide receiver one to pair with, hopefully, their future quarterback in Fernando Mendoza. And this just shores up that room. Jerry Jeudy, touch and go. Cedric Tillman can't stay healthy. The tight ends have been good, but let's get them a potential alpha wide receiver. Carnell Tate, the wide receiver from Ohio State here, to the Browns. This would be the Jacksonville Jaguars pick. So the Browns in the Travis Hunter trade get this pick. Carnell Tate, great value here at 19. Pittsburgh up here at 20. We're not going quarterback. They would have loved Carnell Tate. It would have been a nice pairing with DK Metcalf. Like I said, I'm not thrilled with the lineman here. So Mansour Delane, this is the pick here. He's transferred from Virginia Tech to LSU, and he has done so much for his draft stock this year. Like there was some hype coming into the 2024 class, and he was just, or 2025 class. 2024 was a bad year for him, and he made the wise move, going back to school, transferring, going to LSU, and he has played out of his mind for the Tigers, who are having a bad year. But he continues to play really well. He's locking guys down. You see that coverage grade, almost a 90 on PFF. He's improved immensely as a run defender. So we're gonna get Mansour Delane here to Pittsburgh to pair him with Joey Porter Jr. I know they signed Asante Samuel Jr., but he's not the answer at the second corner spot. Darius Slay's also there, but he's aging out. So we're going to lock in Mansour Delane, the corner from LSU, to Pittsburgh at 21 or at 20. 21 is Buffalo. Now I brought up on the Tuesday show that Buffalo needs a field stretching wide receiver. Casey Concepcion is that. I don't know if I'm in the boat of him as a first round guy. Denzel Boston, he's the big body dude, 6'4", 209, but they kind of have the big body guy in Keon Coleman. Chris Brazzell, he's big but a little bit more slender, 6'5", 200, but he's 1 year wonder in college. So is he really that guy? But 16 yards catch. That is kind of what we're looking for here. Concepcion's done a little bit more. I love Chris Bell out of Louisville. I think he is a first round talent, but he's not the type we're looking for here. But I think if I'm Buffalo, I'm going to punt the position, and I think I look for this in round 2 potentially if I'm not getting it in the offseason. But had I gone receiver, I think I would have leaned Concepcion, even though I'm not on boat for him as a first round guy just yet. So I'm gonna just lock in at the corner spot here. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Sonny Styles is here. Sorry, I've brought him up. I think Sonny Styles is a legitimate dude. He's a dog. He is so good this year, converted safety to the linebacker spot, and he has been one of the bright spots here of a legendary potential Ohio State defense who is just shutting everyone down, and they got names on names on names out here in Columbus. So we're going to have a little fun. We're going to go Sonny Styles here to Buffalo, sure up the linebacker spot for the Bills. Chicago at 22. This one's a little tricky. You would love the dream scenario is Jeremiah Love, but he is long gone, and I'm not ready to anoint any of the other running backs as first round dudes. So sorry, Chicago, no running back at 22. I'm going to take the shot on Caleb Banks, though. I think he's a top 15 talent if he's healthy, and we'll see about that. But the sizes there, 6'6", 330. Plug him in the middle of that defense and just let him, eat up here. He's only played one game this season, and like I said, he's missed time with a foot injury. So we're going to take the shot on Caleb Banks. We're going to bank, pun intended, on the talent. 23 is Tampa Bay. Kenyon Sadiq here would have been fun, but we had him going to the Chiefs at 17. So we look elsewhere for the Bucks. Drafting Denzel Boston to replace Mike Evans. I kind of mess with that. let's put that on the back burner real quick. Cassius Howell, I love him out of Texas, Texas A&M. I think he's as good as a prospect as the lineman they had last year. You know, Nick Scorton, Shamar Stewart, Shamar Turner, all those guys. I hold Cassius Howell in the same boat as them. Romello Height, the other edge rusher from Texas Tech. Like, imagine going up against this guy and David Bailey on Saturday. Good luck. College football. So R. Mason Thomas is really fun. Again, a little undersized, but he is a dang good football player out of Oklahoma. But I am going to mess around with it. We're going to go Denzel Boston, a wide receiver from Washington, here to Tampa Bay. Emeka Ibuka kind of replaced Chris Godwin, and now we're going to take Denzel Washington to replace Mike Evans back-to-back off seasons and continue to make sure Baker Mayfield has a stockpile of weapons. So, yeah, Denzel Boston to 23. Let me know what you think there. How you guys feel about that one? Shoot that in the comments if you mess around with Denzel Boston getting Tampa Bay a big body receiver as the next in line to Mike Evans. Detroit on the clock here at 24. Avian Terrell's here, and this is an easy pick for me. The Lions just can't stay healthy at corner. Terrell, he's been okay. Like, he's not going to blow you away. He's not the fastest guy, but he's got good technique. He's a refined corner. Ton of experience. His brother AJ Terrell plays for the Falcons, so there's bloodlines there. So we're just going to try to get a good corner. He plays the run well, decent in coverage for the Lions, who just need corner help. None of their corners seem to stay healthy, and none of their corners just seem to be like panning out. Terrion Arnold is getting there. I still believe in him as a prospect, but we're going to get him some help. Enos Rakestraw, who they drafted, just has been on the field. He just can't stay healthy. So we're going to go to Clemson corner, Avian Terrell to the Lions at 24, putting the Cowboys back up at 25. We went with CC Moioa, the offensive tackle, at 12. So now Cowboys. Let's go with some edge help. Cassius Howell, low moving cost. Texas A&M, he would be my next edge rusher up. Like I said, I hold him in the same regards as a talent as Shamar Stewart, Nick Scorton, who we really liked here on the podcast last year. And Cassius Howell, next man up there. He is, he finishes 11 sacks on the year, gets the quarterback, decent run defender, but you're looking at a true pass rusher here for the Cowboys. So we're going to go with Cassius Howell, the Texas A&M edge rusher. Kind of swiped him there from the Chargers, who are up here at 26. They need offensive line help, but like I said, the lineman class just isn't there for me. But like, you can't shy away from that. And linemen are obviously going to get a boost up just because of positional value. But we're going to go with Jennings Dunker, who's right tackle out of Iowa. But I think he is going to be a guard at the next level. I just don't think he's, up to par to be an NFL offensive tackle. But as a guard, he's tough as hell. Iowa, they just produce big, strong boys, good run blocker, decent pass blocker. So we're going to get him here in LA. He's going to work his ass off. Harbaugh's going to love him. And we're going to kick him in the guard, and we're going to go with Jennings Dunker from Iowa there to the Chargers at 26. Rams back on the clock at 27. They did take one of those offensive linemen. They actually took the first one in Spencer Fanu, the tackle from Utah. So now we're going to go to the defensive side of the ball here, and we're going to look at the corner spot. I really like Colton Hood, who has stepped up really well in absence of Jermod McCoy not being there, and Hood has played himself into first round talks. So that's where we're going to go here. Could use some work as a run defender, but improvement from last year, and he has stepped up being, the number one guy here. Like I said, with no Jermod McCoy. So we're going to go Colton Hood here, get some help on the secondary for the LA Rams. New England at 28 here. Want to get Drake May some weapons. There's some good names on the board, but I think they hold off on that. They drafted, Kyle Williams. Dream scenarios, my heart of hearts. Kyle Williams with Chris Bell, and you've got a very happy Theo over here at the Drafted Up podcast. But I don't think that's the route they go. I am looking at the edge rush position. Romello Heights still there. Like I said, him and David Bailey are just wrecking havoc for Texas Tech here. They have them top 6 team in the nation right now. He obviously, you see his run defense grade, not great, but this is a pure pass rusher here for New England. Pin his ears back, let him get to the quarterback. So we'll go with Romello Height to the Patriots at 28. The Eagles at 29. I fully believe they move on from A.J. Brown in the offseason. I think they're going to trade him, and maybe he goes to New England. Maybe he goes to Buffalo, and we're looking at Philly in one of those spots. But no trades here. So we are going to go and get the Eagles a field stretcher. We're gonna go with Casey Concepcion here. A little bit smaller, 5'11", 190, but I think the Eagles believe that Devonta Smith can be the wide receiver 1. I also believe he can be the wide receiver 1. So we're going to get a, Concepcion here who can play special teams, play punt cover or punt return, kick return, all that good stuff, while also being, the next up to be the wide receiver 2. In 2023, he was really good for NC State, and then last year NC State was just bad, and it affected him. He transferred here to Texas A&M, and he's been really good with Garver, and the improvement here in Marcel Reed helping in his development as a quarterback prospect. So let's get KC Concepcion here to Philadelphia at 29. Get them some wide receiver help. Like I said, this is in this scenario, this is believing A.J. Brown is going to be dealt in the offseason. Denver at 30. Denver's got a really well-built roster, so there's a couple ways we can go. This is going to be a best player available situation. I don't think they look wide receiver. I think they're fine with Sutton and Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, the deep room, Pat Bryant. Obviously, we're not looking at running back. We drafted R.J. Harvey here last season. J.K. Dobbins has been doing well, and I just don't think there's another running back on the board worthy to go in the first round. So this is going to be C.J. Allen, the linebacker from Georgia. He's really low here on the PFF board, 56, but I think he is a fringe first round talent. He's the best player on the Georgia defense. I've liked what I've seen from him. Like I said, he's been the best player. Like, he sticks out on tape. Georgia's defense isn't that dominant unit that it used to be a handful of years ago, but C.J. Allen has been a bright spot here, and we're going to lock him in here to Denver at 30. All right, in this area, the Super Bowl is the Seattle Seahawks and the Indianapolis Colts, which is the Jets pick now because of the Sauce Gardner trade. So Seattle here at 31. Obviously, we want to continue shoring up that offensive line, but like I said, there's not really a lot of linemen that I like here. On the board, Caleb Lomu would be my pick, but I do not think he is going to be in the draft. I think he goes back to school. This one's a little crazy. Keith Abney, a good corner from Arizona State. A.J. Harris, a nice corner from Penn State, but he's had a tough go this year, as most of Penn State. I really like Chris Johnson, the corner from San Diego State. He is an absolute gamer. I haven't fully dove into him. I've watched bits and pieces of him, but he is someone I'm really excited to, get into, a full deep tape dive of his. I don't know if he's a first round pick, but I am going to go with him just because I really like his game, and I just want to give him a shout out. And none of these other names are really sticking out for me here for the Seahawks at 31. Like Chris Bell, I love him, but and they drafted Torrey Horton. They traded for Rashid Shaheed, who is a free agent, so he might not be there. Cooper Kupp probably not going to be there. So maybe receiver is a sneaky need for them. I'm not as high on Anthony Hill Jr., the linebacker from Texas, as some people. So I'm just going to get one of my guys here. San Diego State corner Chris Johnson to the Seahawks at 31. And then finally, the New York Jets at 32 with the Colts pick. So this one's easy for me. They traded Quinnen Williams, and we're going to draft Amari Washington from Oregon here, 6'3", 330. He's got the size. His stuff's been really good this year. He's plugging up the middle of that Oregon defense. So we're gonna go with Amari Washington. I would love to go with Big Citrus, Dominique Orange, but just hasn't been there this year. And I like watching a little more than I like McDaniel and Miller. So we're going to round out round one here. Amari Washington, the defensive interior lineman for Oregon, to the New York Jets at 32. There we go. A little mid-season mock draft for you guys. Nice little bonus episode of the Drafted Up podcast. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll do a quick rundown here. No trades. Tennessee picked one. This would be a trade scenario if I was doing a real draft. They went linebacker, maybe edge rusher Arvell Reese from Ohio State. 2, New Orleans went Reuben Bain Jr. to the edge rusher from Miami. 3, the New York Giants took wide receiver Jordan Tyson from Arizona State. The Cleveland Browns at 4 went quarterback Fernando Mendoza from Indiana. At 5, the Jets went Ty Simpson, the quarterback from Alabama. 6, Peter Woods, the defensive interior lineman from Clemson, to the Raiders. Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State. 7, to the Dolphins. Jeremiah Love, running back Notre Dame, to Washington at 8. Keldrick Falk, the edge rusher from Auburn. 9, to the Bengals. Spencer Fanu, offensive tackle Utah, to the Rams, which would have been the Falcons' pick. So offensive tackle help to the Rams at 10. Mekhi Lemon, the wide receiver from USC, to the Cardinals at 11. Francis Moioa, the offensive tackle from Miami, to Dallas at 12. Oliavega Iani, the guard from Penn State, to Baltimore at 13. Jermard McCoy, corner from Tennessee, to Minnesota at 14. Caden Proctor, offensive tackle, Alabama, to the Texans at 15. TJ Parker, the edge rusher from Clemson, to the Panthers at 16. 17, the Kansas City Chiefs. They will definitely not be drafting here come the 2026 draft. They go tight end Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon to the Chiefs. David Bailey, edge rusher. This is a steal to me. 18 to the 49ers, edge rusher from Texas Tech. Carnell Tate, another steal in my eyes. Wide receiver, Ohio State, to the Cleveland Browns to pair him up with Fernando Mendoza. Mansour Delane, the corner from LSU, to the Steelers at 20. Sonny Styles, linebacker, Ohio State, to the Bills at 21. Caleb Banks, the defensive interior lineman from Florida, to the Bears at 22. Denzel Boston, Mike Evans replacement, wide receiver from Washington, to the Bucks at 23. Avian Terrell, corner from Clemson, to the Lions at 24. Cassius Howell, edge rusher from Texas A&M, to the Cowboys at 25. This would be the Packers pick. Jennings Dunker, the offensive tackle. I think he kicks inside to guard from Iowa, to the Chargers at 26. Colton Hood, corner from Tennessee, to the Rams at 27. Romello Height, the other edge rusher from Texas Tech, to the Patriots at 28. Casey Concepcion, the wide receiver from Texas A&M, to Philadelphia, the Eagles at 29. C.J. Allen, the linebacker from Georgia, to the Broncos at 30. Chris Johnson, the corner from San Diego State, 31, to the Seahawks. And Omari Washington, the defensive interior lineman from Oregon, 32, to the Jets. I do think round 2, the Jets would look at a wide receiver, maybe like Chris Bell, or Chris Brazel, to pair up with Garrett Wilson. So yeah, I kind of did mentally wanted to go Chris Bell there just so I can get him in the draft, and then I just kind of went the route of Quinnen Williams, but there we go. There we have it. That is a nice little midseason mock draft. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was fun. Comment below if you disagreed or agreed with your picks or where you would have went in scenarios for your own team or just in general. If you think the Saints want to go quarterback, make your case for Ty Simpson or Fernando Mendoza. Or if you think one of these other guys declares, Lenore Sellers, probably not Arch Manning, Dante Moore though. Maybe they're there come draft day in 2026. But yeah, Draft It Up podcast. If you gotten this far already and you haven't done it, like, rate, subscribe, review, all that good stuff. We appreciate the support. It goes a long way in growing the show. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to grow the Drafted Up community. Support our affiliates over at W Energy and Finley Hats. In the description, you'll see all that stuff. I'm Theo. Just Theo here. We'll catch you guys a little bit later this week as we run down week 11. Adios. Much respect. Love you guys.